In 1996, Mike Judge had a disturbing thought. What if humanity was breeding itself into oblivion? Not through war, not through disaster, but through simple mathematics. Smart people having fewer kids. Everyone else? Not so much. A decade later, that thought became Idiocracy, a film Fox tried desperately to bury. No trailers, no posters. Crew members went unpaid. It grossed less than $500,000, becoming one of the biggest theatrical bombs in history. But here's the thing about prophecies. Sometimes they're just early. By 2016, people weren't laughing at Idiocracy anymore. They were quoting it, living it, watching reality TV stars run for president, while Ow My Balls didn't seem that far-fetched. The movie Judge made as a dark comedy had somehow become the world's most uncomfortable documentary. This is the story of how a film with a $2.4 million budget, a crew that didn't get paid, and a studio that refused to admit it existed became one of the most prophetic pieces of satire ever created. Because what killed Idiocracy at the box office is exactly what the movie warned us about. Fact 1. The spark that started everything. The idea didn't come from a writing room or a pitch meeting. It came from Disneyland, of all places. In 2001, Mike Judge was standing in line at the Mad Tea Party, the spinning teacups ride with his daughters. Just another dad in a slow-moving queue on a hot California day. That's when he heard it. Two mothers, both with toddlers and strollers, screaming profanity at each other. Not quietly, not apologetically, loud, aggressive, completely unbothered by the families around them and their kids, just sitting there absorbing it all like it was normal. Judge later explained that something clicked in that moment. He realized people like this were likely having more children than those who planned carefully, and they were raising those kids in the same chaotic environment. Standing in line for a children's ride, he watched the future take shape. Not a dystopian future of robots or nuclear war, but something simpler and more terrifying. A world where stupidity simply outbred intelligence. He left Disneyland that day with more than Mickey Mouse ears. He left with the seed of Idiocracy, a premise that was equal parts comedy and horror. Judge had been thinking about evolution and genetics since 1996, wondering what would happen in a modern world where everyone survives regardless of intelligence. But it took those screaming mothers at Disneyland to crystallize the concept into something he had to make. Fact 2. The literary ghost in the machine. But Judge wasn't the first person to imagine this nightmare. In 1951, science fiction writer Cyril M. Kornbluth published a short story called The Marching Morons in Galaxy magazine. The parallels are eerie. A man from the past gets frozen, wakes up centuries later, and discovers a world overrun by idiots. 5 billion morons governed by 3 million exhausted geniuses trying desperately to keep civilization from collapsing. Sound familiar? In Kornbluth's story, the population crisis exists because smart people stopped having children while less intelligent people didn't, resulting in an average IQ of 45. The con artist protagonist comes up with a dark solution to the overpopulation problem, only to become a victim of his own scheme. The story was so ahead of its time that it was later inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. Kornbluth's tale is considered a major unacknowledged inspiration for both Idiocracy and even elements of RoboCop. Where Judge differed was in tone. He turned the premise into comedy rather than the darker, more cynical ending Kornbluth imagined. But the DNA is unmistakable. Both works ask the same uncomfortable question: what happens when the idiots inherit the earth? Fact 3. The title Fox refused to use. Mike Judge's original title wasn't Idiocracy. It was the United States of America, like a drunk slurring the country's name. Drawn out, stupid, perfect. And Fox executives hated it. Not disliked, hated. To them, it was too aggressive, too insulting, too likely to offend people. They worried it would look unpatriotic, that theater chains would refuse to book it, that the title alone would kill any chance of box office success. The irony, They were about to kill the film's box office anyway. After weeks of internal warfare, they landed on Idiocracy as a compromise. Less inflammatory, they thought, more marketable. But even that name made them nervous. Some Fox executives quietly admitted they were embarrassed by the film's branding, calling it too mean-spirited and cynical. So the original insult was buried, the marketing went silent, and the satire they were too scared to name became exactly what it predicted, a future they'd helped create by refusing to talk about it. Fact 4. Casting the everyman. For the lead role of Joe Bowers, the most average man in America, Judge needed someone who could play ordinary without being boring. Someone relatable but not remarkable. Enter Luke Wilson. Wilson wasn't Judge's first choice for anything. He was just perfect for this. Critics later praised him as perfectly cast as a quintessential everyman. Wilson played it straight, letting the absurd world around him do the heavy lifting. The beauty of Wilson's performance is how little he does. He reacts, he's confused, he's trying his best. In a film where everyone else is screaming, Wilson whispers normalcy. That restraint makes the satire work. When the smartest person in the world is just some guy, the horror hits harder. Wilson later said the film might be the biggest surprise of his career, not because it was successful at first, but because it refused to die. Decades later, people still bring it up more than any other role he's played. The everyman became eternal. Fact 5. When the money disappeared. Idiocracy had a production budget of $2.4 million, modest by Hollywood standards, but manageable for a comedy with a clear vision. That was the promise, anyway. The reality was different. Production designer Darren Guilford later recalled being told point blank, "Here's the money you have to make this movie. You either make it for this, or we're gonna find somebody else." He agreed, knowing it was impossible. Then the budget started shrinking, quietly, relentlessly. Shooting days were cut. Judge described the schedule as impossible, with 16-hour days minimum becoming the norm. Locations were changed last minute. The visual effects budget, crucial for showing a dystopian future, was allocated last, leaving almost nothing for post-production. Cinematographer Tim Soerstedt noted that VFX should have been planned from the beginning, but were treated as an afterthought by Fox. Then came the cruelest cut. Crew members, makeup artists, lighting technicians, set dressers, the people working those brutal 16-hour days were told their paychecks might be delayed. Some waited weeks, others never saw full payment. The ultimate irony? A film about a broken system was nearly broken by one. Mike Judge had to keep directing, keep motivating his team, pretending everything was fine while the production crumbled behind the scenes, because if he didn't finish it, no one else would. Fact 6. The designer who saw tomorrow. Production designer Darren Guilford didn't just dress the future, he predicted it. Working with graphic designer Ellen Lamp, he created a visual language for 2505 that mixed NASCAR aesthetics, candy packaging, Mexican hand-painted signs, and Japanese pop culture into something garish and overwhelming. But Guilford's masterpiece was architectural. He designed a massive Frank Gehry-inspired structure, a giant woman holding the Washington Monument like a stripper pole. It was crude, enormous, and perfectly encapsulated how the film's future had turned American symbols into entertainment. Guilford later explained that Judge was a genius who hears things rather than visualizes them, listening to the cadence and rhythm of scenes. Meanwhile, Guilford was the opposite. He saw everything. Their collaboration created a world that felt lived in, despite the shoestring VFX budget. Years later, Guilford said Idiocracy, quote-unquote, was a huge stain on my career for years before it became a cult classic. He'd poured his talent into a film Fox refused to support, watching his work vanish into obscurity. The theater in Santa Monica where he first saw his own film didn't even have a poster. Fact 7. The shoes that predicted the future. Budget problems led to creative solutions. When costume designer Deborah Maguire needed futuristic footwear for hundreds of extras, she found a tiny startup making weird plastic shoes with holes. They were called Crocs, and in 2004, when the film was shooting, almost nobody had heard of them. Maguire showed Judge the shoes and explained they could save the production a fortune. Judge's response: "But what if by the time the movie comes out, these things are everywhere?" Her reply: "Oh no, that's never going to happen. No one would ever wear these things, they're horrible." She was spectacularly wrong. Crocs launched nationally right around 2006, the same year Idiocracy finally hit theaters. By the time audiences saw the film, those weird plastic shoes that were supposed to represent rock-bottom future fashion were already on every third person in America. Judge later said, "It already started coming true even faster than we made the movie, really." Idiocracy's first prediction came true before most people even saw the film. The costume department had accidentally documented the present while trying to satirize the future. Fact 8. Terry Crews 5-round battle. President Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho, 5-time Ultimate SmackDown champion, porn superstar, and leader of the free world, almost didn't happen. Not because the role wasn't written, because Terry Crews nearly lost it. Crews was up against big names according to the actor himself. The studio wanted someone safer, someone more established. Crews had to audition 5 separate times, each one a battle, to prove he was Camacho. By the 5th audition, Crews was exhausted and frustrated. He walked in, looked the casting team in the eye, and said, "If you find somebody better, just give it to him." Then he unleashed everything: the voice, the chaos, the explosive energy that would define the character. Suddenly there was no competition. Camacho wasn't written as a WWE character in the original script. The idea evolved during development, but Crews took it to another level. Judge gave him the blueprint, but Crews improvised constantly. The screaming, the motorcycle entrance, the assault rifle State of the Union, all Crews. He changed dialogue between takes, keeping the energy fresh and unpredictable. What started as a parody of a loud, dumb leader became something more uncomfortable. Crews wasn't just playing a cartoon, he was holding up a mirror, and 10 years later, people would realize they were looking at something prophetic. Fact 9. The most uncomfortable scene to direct. Idiocracy's most popular movie in the year 2505 is called Ass. That's it, just a bare butt on screen for 90 minutes, while audiences scream with laughter. It's the ultimate commentary on how low entertainment could sink, but filming it was miserable. Judge had to actually shoot footage of ass to include in the film. That meant casting calls for men with appropriate posteriors. Judge later recalled telling the casting department, "I don't want any hair on his ass," forcing them to sort through Polaroids of bare butts. Then he had to direct it. Picture Mike Judge, creator of Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill, sitting behind a camera filming close-ups of someone's naked rear end for a dystopian comedy. The scene works because it's absurd, but the fact that Judge had to make it real, that somewhere in Austin in 2004, a film crew spent a day shooting ass, is almost more absurd than the joke itself. Fact 10. Dax Shepard's Idiot Savant. Dax Shepard plays Frito Pendejo, Joe's semi-literate guide through the year 2505. Frito is stupid, lazy, and motivated entirely by money and TV. He's also oddly sympathetic. The audience ends up liking him despite his complete uselessness. Shepard nailed the balance. Frito could have been just annoying, but Shepard found humanity in the stupidity. He's a man-child, surviving in a world built for man-children. He doesn't know he's dumb because everyone else is just as dumb. Judge later promoted Frito to vice president by the film's end, having 32 children while Joe and Rita have 3. The joke is clear. Frito represents the future winning. Intelligence might save civilization temporarily, but biology bats last. Shepard later revealed that even theaters showing the film couldn't list it properly on Fandango. People trying to buy tickets for Idiocracy found it listed as Untitled Mike Judge Comedy. The film's own marketing became part of its prophecy. Fact 11. The Ghost Release. When Idiocracy was finally finished after its brutal production, Fox gave it a 1-week release window. No advertising budget, no press kits, no red carpet. Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph did zero press. The film opened on September 1st, 2006, in just 130 theaters across 7 cities. Notably absent, New York City and San Francisco, 2 of the country's biggest markets. Some theaters weren't even told the movie's title. Guilford, the production designer, remembered, "The theater in Santa Monica that I originally saw the movie did not even have a poster. I thought that was odd at the time." Cinematographer Sewerstedt added, "I don't think I've ever seen a studio release where there wasn't even an ad for the newspaper. It's so bizarre." The message from Fox was brutally clear. Don't look at this. Don't talk about this. Don't even acknowledge this exists. The film made $177,559 in its opening weekend. Its entire theatrical run grossed $444,093 domestically, barely 18% of its $2.4 million budget. Fox had succeeded in killing it, or so they thought. If the story of how a studio buried a film that predicted everything hasn't blown your mind yet, just wait. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me which revelation shocked you most. And subscribe if you want more deep dives into films that accidentally predicted reality, because we're just getting started with this story. Fact 12. The test screening disaster. For years, people speculated about why Fox buried Idiocracy. Were corporations angry about how they were portrayed? Did someone powerful kill it behind closed doors? The truth, according to Judge in a 2017 New York Times interview, was simpler and somehow sadder. The test screenings were terrible. Audiences in 2005 didn't get it. They didn't laugh at the right moments. They found it too mean, too cynical, too weird. The scores came back low and Fox panicked. But here's where it gets interesting. Judge revealed that Fox executives believed the film would develop a cult following through DVD sales, just like Office Space had. They decided to barely release it theatrically, fulfill their contractual obligation, and let it find its audience at home. It was a calculated abandonment. They knew what they had, they just didn't think Americans in 2006 were ready to laugh at themselves. Terry Crews offered another theory in a 2018 GQ interview. Companies featured in the film were unhappy with how they were portrayed and may have pressured Fox. Starbucks offering full-body lattes, Carl's Jr. screaming at customers. These weren't gentle product placements. The truth is probably both. Bad test scores gave Fox the excuse. Corporate pressure gave them the reason. Fact 13. The corporate satire gambit. Judge knew he was playing with fire. Idiocracy mocked Starbucks, Carl's Jr., Costco, everyone. Carlton Cigarettes and Walmart refused to allow their logos to be mocked. But most companies surprisingly agreed. How did Judge's lawyers pull it off? According to people close to production, if no single brand was singled out, if everyone got roasted equally, no one could claim unfair targeting. The strategy was scorched earth satire. Mock everyone so viciously that individual lawsuits become pointless. Graphic designer Ellen Lampel, working with Guilford, created a visual vernacular fusion of NASCAR, candy packaging, Mexican hand-painted signs, and Japanese pop culture for the fake brands like Nastia and Brondo. The gamble worked legally, but it didn't save the film. Years later, when the jokes started hitting too close to reality, when real corporations started resembling their satirized versions, those same companies weren't laughing anymore. The satire had stopped being funny because it had stopped being satire. Fact 14. When acting too dumb breaks your heart. Mike Judge's direction to background actors was simple. Act stupid, dumber than dumb, cartoon-level moronic. Most extras nailed it perfectly, creating the slack-jawed masses of 2505. But some went too far. Some were so convincingly unintelligent that they broke Judge's heart. Picture this. You're directing a dystopian comedy, and you watch your extras play people so profoundly dim-witted that it stops being funny and starts being sad. The line between satire and tragedy is thin, and occasionally judges' extras crossed it. The film walks that tightrope constantly, asking audiences to laugh at humanity's decline while quietly mourning it. It's what separates Idiocracy from pure slapstick. There's genuine melancholy beneath the poop jokes. You're laughing, but you're also watching the end of civilization. Fact 15. Maya Rudolph's dual reality. In October 2005, about a year before Idiocracy officially reached theaters, Maya Rudolph gave birth to her first child with director Paul Thomas Anderson. Think about that timeline. While Fox was sitting on the film, refusing to release it or promote it, Rudolph was navigating early motherhood. On screen, she played Rita, a prostitute time-traveling through a society collapsing into stupidity. Off-screen, she was holding her newborn, looking at the actual world of 2006. The parallel is unsettling. In Idiocracy, Rita is one of the last intelligent people left, trying to survive in a world that's forgotten how to think. In real life, Rudolph was bringing a child into a world that Mike Judge had just predicted would end up exactly the same way. From playing the smartest person in a dumb future to becoming a mother in what might not be such a different present. The joke wasn't funny anymore. Fact 16. The film that became its own prophecy. Idiocracy warned audiences about a future where the dumbest entertainment wins, where spectacle crushes art, where nobody wants to think anymore. Then it happened to itself. The film that satirized anti-intellectualism was buried by a studio terrified of looking too smart or too dangerous. Fox slashed marketing, killed press support, gave it a ghost release. The movie that predicted audiences would only want "All My Balls" got treated like it was too complicated for those same audiences. The studio assumed Americans were too dumb to get it, too mean to laugh at themselves, too comfortable to care about where culture was heading. And maybe they were right. In 2006, the test screenings proved it. The box office confirmed it. But Fox miscalculated something crucial. Sometimes prophecies just need time. Sometimes the audience isn't ready until they're living the punchline. Fact 17. The documentary Mike Judge never wanted to make. By 2016, Mike Judge stopped calling Idiocracy a comedy. He started calling it a documentary. In interview after interview, Judge expressed discomfort about how accurate his satire had become. Co-writer Ethan Cohen echoed the sentiment. "I never expected Idiocracy to become a documentary. What changed? Everything. Social media turned debates into screaming matches. Corporate logos multiplied until you couldn't escape them. Politicians leaned into spectacle rather than policy. Reality TV stars started winning elections. People began drawing direct parallels between President Camacho and real political figures. But here's the uncomfortable truth," Judge explained. He didn't predict the future. He just followed one premise. What if smart people stopped having kids and everyone else didn't? The rest filled itself in, not through prophecy, but through observation. The scariest part? Judge was off by 490 years. He set Idiocracy in the year 2505. We're getting there a lot faster. Fact 18. The Camacho campaign that never happened. In 2016, as reality began resembling their fiction, Terry Crews, Mike Judge, and Ethan Cohen pitched Fox on bringing Camacho back. A series of election year ads, full regalia, flamethrowers, the works. Fox refused. According to Judge, it kind of fell apart. It was announced that they were anti-Trump, and I would have preferred to make them and then have people decide. I wanted to put them out more quietly and let them go viral. The studio that once tried to bury the film now found itself too scared to resurrect its most iconic character. Crews explained that Fox got cold feet. The parallels were too obvious, the reflection too uncomfortable. Camacho wasn't a joke anymore. He was a prophecy. And Fox didn't want to be the studio that reminded people they'd predicted it 10 years earlier. Fact 19. From Bomb to Bible. Idiocracy earned $9 million in DVD rentals, over 20 times its theatrical gross. Fox's cynical calculation proved correct. It found its audience at home, but found its audience doesn't capture what actually happened. Idiocracy exploded. It became college dorm scripture, midnight screening gold, Reddit's favorite reference. Lines like, "Welcome to Costco, I love you," and "Brondo's got what plants crave" entered the cultural lexicon. People weren't just watching, they were quoting it like prophecy. The film that critics dismissed as too mean, or not really satire, just snobbery, underwent massive critical reevaluation. Suddenly, the same reviewers who panned it were writing pieces about its prescience. On Rotten Tomatoes, it currently sits at 71%, with critics praising its deceptively barbed wit. From bomb to cult classic to cultural touchstone, Fox tried to bury it. The audience resurrected it. Fact 20. The real Brondo. In 2007, entrepreneur Pete Hotelet, founder of Omni Consumer Products, a company that turns fictional products into reality, teamed up with Redux Beverages to produce over 10,000 cases of real Brondo energy drink. Hotelet's mandate was simple. It needed to contain electrolytes and had to be alarmingly bright green. Suddenly you could walk into a store and buy the joke. The drink that represented everything wrong with Idiocracy's future, artificial, overhyped, full of chemicals nobody needed, was sitting on shelves in 2007 America. The movie had crossed into reality, and people were buying it, ironically, at first. Then some people just bought it. The line between satire and reality had dissolved completely. Fact 21. The Office Space reunion you missed. Judge has a habit. He reuses actors like a director's repertory company, finding new ways to deploy them. David Herman, who hated his job in Office Space, now appears as Secretary of State, still bureaucratically broken, just in a different century. Stephen Root, the mumbly guy with the red stapler, returns as a judge with even less control over his courtroom. They're not just cameos, they're echoes, the soul of Office Space, that sense of bureaucratic dystopia, of systems crushing human spirit didn't vanish. It evolved. Idiocracy is what happens after the brain drain. Judge documented in Office Space goes global. The TPS reports got dumber, the Lumberg bosses got louder, and the cubicle farm expanded into an entire civilization. Fact 22. The supporting cast you forgot. Thomas Hayden Church plays Brondo's CEO in an uncredited role, one of the few people in the future who seems somewhat competent because his job is literally selling sugar water as plant food. Justin Long appears as Dr. Lexus, the world's worst physician, delivering medical advice from a vending machine interface. Even Andrew Wilson, Luke's real-life brother, shows up as Beef Supreme, a rehabilitation officer in the film's Demolition Derby execution sequence. Judge filled the world with recognizable faces playing idiots, creating a who's who of 2000s comedy, buried under prosthetics and stupidity. Years later, these actors would look back and realize they'd been part of something accidentally prophetic. Fact 23. The runtime that says everything. Idiocracy clocks in at just 84 minutes. For a dystopian sci-fi comedy, that's remarkably short. Most comedies push 100+ minutes. But Judge knew exactly what he was doing. The film is lean, brutal, efficient. It makes its point and gets out. There's no fat, no extended gags that overstay their welcome. It feels urgent because it is urgent. That brevity also reveals Fox's lack of faith. A longer runtime means more production time, more money, more commitment. By keeping it under 90 minutes, Fox minimized their investment in something they never believed in. The shortness became its strength. You can watch Idiocracy, feel disturbed, and still have time to doom scroll through your phone afterward, which is exactly what the movie warned you about. Fact 24. The Easter egg that connected everything. Remember that disturbing opening? The family tree showing how stupidity literally outbred intelligence? Pause it. Look closer. Buried in that genealogical nightmare, in the chaotic collage of baby daddies and questionable relationships, you'll find Hank Hill from King of the Hill, Judge's animated character made it into the live-action bloodline of Idiocracy. You'll even spot a goat in the family tree. It's not just a joke. It's Mike Judge slipping his entire creative universe into this film's DNA. King of the Hill, Beavis and Butthead, Office Space. They're all connected through this one twisted genealogy, a secret crossover of comedy, chaos, and the slow collapse Judge had been documenting for decades. The joke has layers. Hank Hill, the propane-selling avatar of common sense and middle American values, ended up part of the genetic chain that produced President Camacho. Even Hank couldn't save us. Idiocracy wasn't supposed to be a prediction. It was supposed to be impossible. A warning wrapped in poop jokes and energy drink ads. Mike Judge thought he was making a dark comedy 500 years in the future. But the film that Fox tried to bury crawled out of its grave to become the most relevant satire of the 21st century. Not because Judge was a prophet, because he understood what we desperately didn't want to admit. We were already heading there. The signs were everywhere. We just weren't ready to see them. From a production budget of $2.4 million and a theatrical gross under $500,000, Idiocracy earned $9 million on DVD and became cultural shorthand for societal decline. Fox calculated it would find a cult following. They never imagined it would become a documentary. The scariest part isn't that Idiocracy predicted the future, it's that we watched it happen and kept scrolling. So, have you watched Idiocracy yet? Tell us in the comments what you think about it. Which of these facts you already knew, and which surprised you most? If you haven't, go watch it when you get the chance and then come back to tell us about it. And if you like this video, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into films that changed everything. Thanks for watching.